Hi, Kelvin. How are you today?
Not too bad, not too bad. Sorry, I'm slightly late. I'm one of those classic ones where my internet connection goes really slow, and then Zoom wants to download an update and all of that sort of stuff. So let me get my camera
No
on now.
worries, Kelvin. I know that you're very busy. We're very excited here in San Diego about the event.
Oh yeah, no, we're excited. Yeah, I'm flying out tomorrow. So yeah, it's all starting to reach that point of like, yeah, I probably should be more prepared and packed than I am. Let's put it that way. But yeah, we're all good. We're all good. How's things with you though? You're well?
Oh, yeah, Kelvin, we've had a great time here in San Diego. We just concluded Startup Week San Diego. It's our
Yeah.
big annual event.
It
And
looks
I
very
guess,
impressive from what I saw on LinkedIn. You must be really pleased with how it went.
yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah, no, it's a great leading up to Brighton SEO, first time outside of Europe. And had a great time yesterday actually at the Agriculture Technology Conference over here
Ah,
in what we call North County, San Diego.
no, it's a busy time of year for lots of things going on, it seems.
Yeah, absolutely. So Kelvin, very excited about Brighton SEO coming to San Diego. I got a couple of questions
Yeah,
for you, just kind of interview questions. I had meant to
yeah.
send them over to you, prior, but I think maybe you're probably up for a little.
Yeah. No. To be honest, I tend to be when people give me the option of like, do you want to see the questions beforehand? I'm always very happy to kind of go from the fly. I think that makes it more what's the word? Kind of yeah, dynamic when you're having the conversation, doesn't it? So I think that's
Absolutely,
very
absolutely. So I know about the origin of Brighton SEO, and it's really kind of one of those great intrinsically British origin stories, right?
yeah.
A couple of friends, a pub central to that. But could you maybe give me a little additional color about the inception of Brighton SEO and what really inspired its creation, besides a couple of lads getting together over a
Yeah,
pint.
Yeah, so I mean, essentially, the story of Brighton SEO starting is very linked actually to the early days of Twitter. So back when Twitter was a much smaller and very different place to it is now, yeah, hashtags were one of these ways in which you would find people who had shared interests to you. And so Brighton SEO sort of started as a hashtag as much as anything really. So for
Oh,
people who were working in SEO in Brighton. So Brighton's a city on the south coast of England, about an hour away from London. So actually, lots of people in Brighton work in London. But Brighton's always been a bit of a hotspot for digital businesses, and particularly search, so search marketing. And that's largely because it's on the city, so it's on the coast. There's a beach there. It's kind of a very seaside location. It's kind of
yeah, very beachy.
yeah, a bohemian kind of city as well. University, lots of young people. It's always kind of had this sort of yeah, that kind of vibe about it. So yeah, it was kind of this hashtag sort of existed for people who were interested in SEO in Brighton, and the conversations were happening, and people were like, do you know what, we should get together. We should have a kind of meet up, and there'd been a few kind of informal gatherings of people who worked in SEO, and I was like, well, if we borrow a projector and hire a room, we can go down to the pub at lunchtime, and maybe some people can do some talks. And that was kind of how the very first one started. And yeah, that was kind of like our kind of route to becoming a conference, really. So we never set out to let's organize an SEO conference. We were always like, let's get a group of people together who are interested in search. And each time we did it, so 30 people we had room for the first time around, and 50 people showed up. So we booked somewhere twice as big. Next time around, 120 people showed up, and then it was like, yeah, and it eventually became a big old event. It's me, the team of about 15 or so of us working on it all year round. And yeah, the UK events we do them twice a year. 3,500 people from 50 different countries coming to this kind of like city on the south coast
It's
of England, and we were
incredible.
like, oh, well, you ought to be doing something in the States. That's how that kind of came about as well.
That's incredible. That's incredible. And really from a pub to one of the most prestigious search conferences in the world. So that's quite the transformation. And then there's that core ethos, that Brightonian ethos. You've sought to maintain that throughout the years. Is that right?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's like whenever any kind of organization or company or event sort of comes about and kind of continues to grow over a period of time, there's certain elements of the DNA or kind of culture that emerge. and some of those you'll try and foster, as kind of like anyone who's kind of in a leadership position of any kind of organization or group or company. And yeah, we certainly try to kind of bring that through. And for us, that's kind of predominantly being about, well, how can we make it as accessible to as many people as possible? So like in like business model terms, that means that we give quite a lot of tickets away for free. So traditionally most SEO events or conferences tended to be a pay for ticket.
Yes, absolutely. And not
like,
quite as hands-on either.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's certainly kind of how we frame it. Yeah, like there's, because it's multi-track as well, because we've got like in San Diego we've got 3 different tracks, but in the UK we've got 5 running concurrently. And yeah, it's all just been about, well, how can we be as useful as we possibly can to as many people as possible? And I think that's different to sometimes perhaps where you might kind of want it to be a bit more keynote-y or strategy-y or longer talks. We keep all the talks like 20 minutes long, which means that there's a greater variety of what we can do. You can have lots of different topics, and you can kind of dive into them. And there's lots of different ways of making an event work, but for us, this has been the kind of format that's emerged and seems to work quite well.
And Kelvin, what has motivated the decision to bring Brighton SEO, which is heretofore has been a very prominent but rather distinctly European conference. You're giving it twice a year in Brighton, and this is the first time that you've ever given it outside of Europe. What has motivated you to select San Diego, America's finest city?
Yeah, well, I mean, a lot of it was like we were very keen to, and the choice, like in the UK, the decision to, I went to university in Brighton and lived there, so that was kind of why we came to do it there. But we've made a conscious decision over the years that there could have been the point at which we could have gone and moved it to London. That probably would have been like the logical thing to have done. There's, it's an easier city to get to. It's got kind of more reach there. But we like the feel of Brighton, which is this seaside-y holiday, a destination that people want to go to, even if it wasn't for a work thing. Like that's kind of the thing here. So when we were looking to do something in the States, we were like, well, we want somewhere that's got, it's never going to be identical, but it's got that kind of a place people want to be. It's a place where there's, the environment is like a, creative and, happy and, I mean, a place that people want to be. So yeah, when we were looking around, there were lots of cities that we considered in San Diego, just like, very much felt like the right one to do. And then when I made the trip myself, everyone who I spoke to about it said, as soon as we suggested that as a location, like, that who'd been to the event before, were like, that's a city that's got some, shared like DNA or culture, I suppose. And when I made the trip to make it myself, to, I was like, this was definitely the right decision to make. And and it's also been really pleasing to us as well that kind of as we've, the more that we've spoken to people who are there in San Diego, that like, it's, like you make these decisions and you're kind of like, I think it's the right one. It's like been continually reinforced that it was the right thing to do on that side of things. And how did it come about? Well, it was, the reality was that the UK event was getting more and more people traveling from the States over, which is
interesting.
But particularly on the speakers, so the people who are putting themselves forward to speak, about 50% of the people who pitched to speak in the UK are from the US. So
interesting. That's very interesting.
So we knew that we had the program there. We knew that there was this place to do it. And like search specific events in the US has been there's been a lot of shake up of that, to be completely honest, in terms of events that over a period of time sort of had lost a bit of steam and weren't really around anymore. And then you had COVID inevitably that had some impact, and a number of events have sort of like fallen out of the calendar. So it like for us it was like, well, we've always felt that there was a bit of an opportunity for us to do something a little bit different from what was being done before, but particularly the circumstance of the kind of the shake up of the events calendar and schedule that COVID has created felt like that was, if ever there was going to be a perfect time for it, this felt like it, if that makes sense.
And we touched upon it a little bit, but what really sets Brighton SEO apart from the other search conferences? And this would be for Americans that maybe people here in Southern California that maybe aren't as familiar with Brighton SEO as a brand in the conference.
So there's a few bits, like there's the free tickets, which is a big part of it. So this ability, we're very keen for, so there's free tickets and there's paid for tickets as well. So if you want to come for a single day, there's the opportunity. We do it via a ballot. where kind of you apply for a ticket and we distribute those, and that process. So that's kind of good because it means that you get a greater variety of attendees. So that can be either from people who are like from organizations who might struggle to find the budget to pay for a $1,500 conference, which might be what other events do. And it also means that you often get people who search perhaps might be newer to them. So maybe they're working in usability or, marketing automation or, like a connected discipline, are interested in search, but perhaps would struggle to justify the fee to kind of go to a conventional conference. That's quite good. That's an aspect to it. It's multi-track, which lots of events are, but not all of them in the search space. A lot of them has historically been single track. So that means that you've got more choice. So you can choose the process of how we do that as well. As I say, shorter talks. So like you'd probably be able to see 12 speakers in a day, all doing 20 minutes of content. And those speakers themselves are selected in a slightly different way to perhaps how other events do. So because we've got this free ticket proposition, this allows us to those tickets are sort of gone. We've got the audience there before we've even announced the lineup, which means that we can approach the selection of speakers in a slightly different way.
So that's interesting.
On what topics do we think that people would find interesting, rather than perhaps if you're a paid for ticket, you kind of go, well, which speakers are best known to be able to help us sell tickets? And that's fine, but it allows us to kind of program newer voices, hopefully like more diverse reflection of like what the industry is having to deal with, rather than perhaps who's the most well known. And we've got plenty of speakers who are high quality and good reputation, but generally speaking, I think that's something that we're kind of known for, is breaking new talent in the speaking world in the UK, and that's something that is definitely going to be on our longest term plan in the US as well, to develop that reputation for a greater variety of people speaking on topics that you perhaps might not get elsewhere.
It's awesome. That's awesome. That's definitely something to look forward to. In terms of your success that you've enjoyed there in the UK over the years, and now with your initial foray into the US in San Diego, do you have any more plans for international expansion of Brighton SEO?
I mean, longer term, I think that we'll probably do something on the East Coast as well. We found it hard to nail down the precise city there as well. I think that's kind of one that's an interesting one for us, whether it be East Coast or Chicago, maybe somewhere like that. We haven't made any kind of.
I vote for Boston.
Yeah, Boston is another one that's a great city for that, isn't there? Some great events there. And that's almost felt like when we're looking at the West Coast, it's kind of San Diego just jumped out, right? And it was like, here's the right,
fantastic choice.
The right place to do it. It was like the East Coast felt there's a little bit more kind of confusion there. So we're definitely on the front there. We're learning things. We don't. We expect that that the format in the States will work slightly differently from what works in the UK, and we're kind of and again, it was in this decision early days in the UK to do the event every 6 months. We're, as an organisation, it's a rough agenda. That's the kind of company that organises Brighton SEO. We're very test and learn and iterate. That's kind of in our DNA or our culture that we're trying to do. So we're always trying to learn from what's works and what doesn't, and what can we improve. And that's very much our kind of and sometimes it's a bit weird when people work with us. We got to go, okay, well, we finished the event, first thing we're gonna do is well, what were all the things that we didn't like, what wasn't very good about it, what can we do better? And that's kind of our mentality of how we approach things. So I'm sure that there's a lot that we'll learn from our first event in San Diego that will feed into our next event in San Diego, which will longer term feed into what we're doing elsewhere. But because we're event organizers primarily, rather than a publisher who also does events, it's
right.
We're always looking to learn, and we're straight back onto what can we do next time around to make the next event better, which creates an interesting set of circumstances.
And Kelvin, that really segues me into my next question, which was really about you and Rough Agenda, the organization of the parent organization of Brighton SEO. So you've been at the helm of it for over a decade now. And what's a good piece of advice that you would give to other event organizers or entrepreneurs in the event management space that you might have learned from your 10 years of Brighton SEO?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's just about kind of finding the version of the business that you're most excited to run. And I think that's kind of been where we've had successes and we've had less successful things over the years. What's been interesting is we've often sort of come back to the kind of like, what's the event that I would most enjoy attending and most enjoy organizing. And sometimes there will have been things where we felt an external pressure or a kind of like well, here's how we should do it. Here's how we currently do it. Here's how we should do it. And when we've gone more to that, should route, it's, either been less successful or less enjoyable to do. And I think that's kind of a very important thing for anyone who's running an event business or any kind of business, really, is that you've got to primarily, as a person who's a founder or a senior member of the team, you're going to be doing it for a period of time. You've got to enjoy doing it, and if you're feeling like you've got to do it in a way that's not something that you enjoy, it's like you can sustain that for a period of time, I'm sure, but if you're not doing it in a way, you're not approaching things in a way that feels natural to you, that's often quite tricky. And also that's quite, for anyone who's been working in the events industry, the period of 18 months to 2 years and not being able to host events is quite a significant moment to consider how you approach things. And that was quite interesting for me as an individual to go, actually, we did some online stuff, we continue to do some online things. There's things that have come out of that period of not being able to host in-person events that has shifted how we approach things, but it did really clarify to me as an individual that I really enjoy events, right? So it's kind of like we're not a publisher, we're not a media business, we're an events business for people who work in search. We're about getting people together to meet, to learn, and hopefully have a good time as well. And that's again a big part of our guiding principles. It's like, well, how can we create a kind of event that someone would want to be, like they're there because it's for work reasons, but we want them to have a good time as well. And there's lots of ways we can do that. We're trying to make as many people as welcome as we possibly can and try and reflect that in how we approach the event. But yeah, that's been a lesson to me. It's like, well, what's my motivations, and then using aligning that motivation that I have and the team has with the event, and if they're kind of like aligned, then it tends to be much easier than if you're fighting against a sort of an approach that doesn't feel natural to you.
Absolutely. I think it's a kind of a situation where we all didn't miss the water until that well ran dry.
I think in events particularly, so it's interesting when you kind of have a situation where you like, and if someone said to me you can have 2 years off running events, it's like, I probably would have gone, yeah, do you know what? That wouldn't be too bad. I wouldn't mind that, like a bit of a step off the treadmill and immediately into the next one. But as soon as you can't, then it changed my perspective to some extent.
So we're all looking forward to connecting with everybody in the industry here in San Diego, and so for our San Diego audience and people here in Southern California that might be attending for the first time. Other people in throughout the country that might have the ability to travel to San Diego and attend Brighton SEO in a more accessible way now for the first time. What's the one thing that you'd recommend that they absolutely should not miss at Brighton SEO in San Diego next year?
Yeah, so we've got 2 sort of keynote sessions, which so we've got multi-track for most of the day, but there's 2. One's at the close of the second day and at the start of the close of the first day and the start of the second day. We have these we bring everyone together. I think technically it's like a plenary or something like that. I don't know if that's quite the right term, but we go from 3 tracks to a single track. And on the first day, we've got a Give It Up session, which we've shamelessly stolen from an event that unfortunately is no longer around called Search Love that used to do this. And their theory was, well, actually the format of a talk where someone's got to give something 20 minutes, that's kind of quite a considered big thing they've got to pull together. Often there might be one small thing, one practical tip that they might have that they can share that's much shorter than that. So what we're going to do is get as many of the speakers as we possibly can. I think we'll probably have about 50 or 60 speakers on stage at that moment in time, and get them all to do their sort of minute or less tip. And that might be a book recommendation, it might be a tool recommendation, it might be a particular tactical thing that's worked well for them, or a problem that they've recently dealt with. So they'll be like that, and we've got no idea what that's going to cover. But whenever I've been to these types of sessions before, they've always been dynamic and exciting and revealing of things that you never would have seen in a normal talk, because that's not necessarily the format that works. And then on the Friday, we're opening up on a session with Danny Sullivan from Google.
Fantastic.
a really interesting character, you know, obviously been in the search industry for a very long period of time, and obviously like right in the center of Google's communication with the outside world, and particularly the search industry. So he's doing a Q&A session, and there's been an opportunity to pre-submit some questions to that, and there'll be some taken on the day, and that's going to be really interesting to get that kind of like you know, Google's version of events, but particularly at the moment, because obviously there's a lot going on around like search generative experiences, so the use of AI and how that's been kind of you know, increasingly influencing the search results pages. And obviously there's a lot going on at the moment in terms of the frequency of updates seems to be increasing as well. So yeah, I'm really excited to get kind of like that perspective. Sorry,
very excited to have the opportunity to hear a little bit about the EEAT updates from Google, from Danny. So that's a fantastic opportunity for anybody that's in Southern California, certainly San Diego, and throughout the country to attend. So that's absolutely fantastic.
Fantastic. Yeah, I mean, we're very excited. It's again, there's this huge energy that comes from bringing a group of people together. So, you know, like obviously there's particular sessions that we're excited about, but it's just that kind of like, yeah, the opportunity to meet new people or people who you've not seen, not bumped into for a little period of time, and just, you know, that kind of serendipity of, yeah, you know, hundreds of people, all of whom are interested in a particular topic, and all of whom themselves are really interesting in one place at one point in time, always is, yeah, great to see as an organizer.
Yeah, so that's a very compelling reason for those that are sitting on the fence that are considering attending to grab a ticket, and then of course the price is right.
Yeah, and I mean, I think, and also the reality as well is that, you know, time moves quickly, and we'll be around doing another one, you know, very soon as well. So yeah, hopefully it's an opportunity for people to yeah, you know, see what we're about, and, you know, potentially get involved in what we're planning over the next few years.
Well, Kelvin, I wanted to thank you so much for bringing Brighton SEO to our fair city. We're going to be packaging up some of our trademark sunshine for next week. So I'm looking forward to connecting with you and the rest of the attendees at Brighton SEO next week in San Diego. And wanted to thank you for taking the time to chat with us today. We're all incredibly excited here in San Diego for the event. We know it's going to be a big success, and we look forward to connecting with you in person next week.
Fantastic. Yeah, thanks so much, Paul, and thanks for having me on.
When you need NetSuite, who do you call? SCG will take care of it all. When you need Shopify, who do you call? SCG will take care of it all.